Well, hello everyone. Today we're going to continue the series around Yoda-verse specific matchups. Today we're going to talk about Yoda-verse Blue Green Villainy. We are less than 24 hours outside of a potential ban that could see a rise in Blue Green Villainy. So let's talk about how Yoda can fight into this matchup. Let's talk about the characteristics of the Blue Green Villainy, sideboarding options. So the format of it is those three things that I just mentioned, and then I'll also commentate on two live stream games where I played into this archetype, and we'll have a look at the decisions that I made along the way to help cement the ideas that I propose in these next couple of slides. If you have any ideas, or anything that you believe I got wrong, just drop them down in the comments. It's meant to be a communal chat. I'm by no means the absolute authority on this. We're all trying to learn together. All right, so I picked four leaders, Kira, Iden, Thrawn, and Palpatine, and you can see their win rates up until week 5, I think was when I grabbed the stats. So Kira's at 42, Iden 43, and then we have positive win rates against Thrawn and Palpatine. Now, Palpatine there is Palpatine Blue. I have not included Palpatine Yellow. That is the topic for a different video. Palpatine Yellow is a much harder matchup, and that sits at around 22%. All right, so you can see not great matchups. Kira and Iden are probably the two that we want to really target in on because they will be a higher percentage than the other two. A high percentage of the meta, that is. All right, so let's jump on to the characteristics of Blue Green Villainy and some of the key cards. So the main characteristic that Green Villainy has always had has been ramp. It's had the super laser tech. It's had the resupplies. It's able to resource above our own blue-red heroic shell, which means that they'll be playing out bigger units before us. The other aspect of the archetype is, especially in the blue-black, is the big units. So we're talking about Annihilators, Avengers, Supreme Leader Snoke, Devastators. Those big ships will come out, and they're bigger than anything that we have in the Yoda shell, with the exception of the Crate Dragons. It also has a removal. It has single and multi-target removal. So single, we're talking about things like Fell the Dragon. We're talking about Rivals Fall. And when we're talking about multi, we're talking about things like Overwhelming Barrage, Super Laser Blast to reset the board. It also has a number of tricks now, thanks to Legends of the Force. It has things like the Anakin unit, which can often -6 units if they've set it up right. It's got timely intervention for things like the Darth Vader, which is always like almost like a 3-for-1 each time. And it can also timely in things like reinforcement walkers as well. One of the things that it has, because it has removal, is the ability to deny the blue-red heroics force tokens. And that can really disrupt the flow of a blue-red heroic deck because you're unable to activate Ki-Adi-Mundi or any other force token-enabled cards. Now, the win conditions for these decks are to play large units and dominate at the end of the game with those large units. And the other option is to mill, and that is by using cards like a card like Vigilance to mill the resources of your deck so that you then take fatigue and they win. So if they remove all the threats in your deck and use cards like Vigilance to also discard 6 cards, you will hit fatigue earlier, and then each time you're unable to draw a card, you will take 3 damage per card. All right, so then let's look at the priorities and that for Yoda into this matchup. So one of the things I like to do is card advantage, and the reason for card advantage is that I need cards in my hand so that I can play multiple units per turn. There is no point just continuing to play one unit at a time into this matchup, because you'll play a unit, they will remove a unit, you'll play a unit, they'll remove. Eventually they'll get their big units out, and then that's when you're in big trouble. So card advantage, cards like Owen Lars, Yoda, Night Sister Warrior will consume a card from them to defeat it, and you will draw a card. and also you'll draw a card with Kiadi if you can get the Force token. That is to draw an additional 2 cards. The next important part is chip damage. Now, chip damage is when I like to call it when you're hitting their base with small units. That has been one way to always sort of fight into this blue-green villainy. But now Yoda in particular has got an extra weapon in its arsenal, and that is the Ray unit. It allows us to put it on top of our deck and then call it with C-3PO or our Resistance X-Wings to draw it, or even Kiadi and that will do, if you can get that to trigger 4 or 5 times in a game against a control, that's a third of their life just in Ray triggers, which is essentially unpreventable damage against them. So they can't remove a unit to stop you doing that. So that is a big part of the chip damage. The next one is the hand tate. Because we're in the red aspect, we've got cards for force throw. Well, at least for now, until the ban potentially comes. And then out of the sideboard, you've always got things like pillage and that as well to hate your opponent's hand. What we want to do is waste their removal. So we want to, what I mean by that is their big removal in terms of fells and rivals and vanquish. We want to chew them up on things like Anakin, a Luke, Rebellious Hammerhead, whatever you run at that sort of top end, even the Ray unit, so that when we drop our crate dragons, they have a hard time removing it because they've used all their removal. And then the big thing is to also not overcommit on the board. So you want to always have like maybe 2 to 3 units attacking, and then do not go wider than that, because then they can super laser blast and then they've 1 for 3 or 1 for 4 in terms of cards. I've also highlighted Fell the Dragon there, and that's important for their big units. So if they drop something like an Avenger, Fell the Dragon is only costed at 4, which means that you can fell the Avenger, but then also develop the board at the same time. So they're the strategies into Yoda Blue Green. Let's have a look at the current deck list. It's remained largely the same. The current one I'm messing around with at the moment has Anakin's in the 6th slot. But if you see ones with Rebellious Hammerhead, it's essentially the same deck, but it's got the power and the 2 Anakins removed and puts the 2 Hammerheads in that spot. You can also, some people also run the Mace unit from Legends of the Force to do 4 damage on attack and consume the Force token. So other than that, it's essentially the same. The main deck has 2 crate dragons, which is one of the keys to beating control. And then obviously it's got the 3 rays and all the card draw, so you want to do your chip damage along the way. Now, that's the deck as it is now. When we get into game 2, game 3, you want to bring your cards in that help the control matchup. That is the 3rd crate dragon and the 2 additional pillagers. What we want to do is remove the constructed lightsabers. They are no good in this matchup because it's no point in scaling up vertically on a unit, because then they can just vanquish it, rivals, super laser blast to get rid of it. And then they have 2 for 1 due on that card. The other one is Your Mighty Hope. It's rare that you can use Your Mighty Hope and ramp out a big unit, because they've got a lot of single target removal, and effectively they have again 2 for 1 due. You spent 2 resources to 2 cards to put that out, and they've removed it with a single card. All right, so that is the sideboard. Let's have a look at 2 live games. Now, the live games are taken from my regular streams, where I stream 10 games unedited live. We talk about the plays. We have a chat in the chat box there, and yeah, have a good time. So we've got a huge bank of games that we can pull from. So let's have a look at our first one. So this one here, we're playing against an Iden Blue Green. So the Iden Blue Green is the more heavier event based of them, and you often get targeted via mill or a very big top end, including those things like the Avenger, Devastator, Annihilator. So let's have a look. I've got the video at 1.5 speed, so I'll pause it where necessary, and this is a good spot to pause it. So let's talk about let's talk about what we would keep here. So one of the things I did say was card advantage. So C3PO is essential for our card advantage. We want the Sage for trying to get the Force token. Often we will put the Sage out and they'll remove it straight away. But there's not really much we can do about that against the Iden. They'll play a Crushing Blow or a Power of the Dark Side. So really our plays lines would be put the Sage out, and then second turn, if they remove it, we would put the Owen out to block the Power of the Dark Side in the future, use the Yoda ability, and then use C3PO to draw a card. So again, we're building up that card advantage. So from this hand here, Open Fire is no good because they rarely play units. They may play a Pershing. That's probably the only thing where an Open Fire might be beneficial. And then probably the Chirrut will save the Luke for later in the game. So let's see what we do. I haven't watched these. I just found the games and went through. So I kept it. You can see us talking. You can see me talking about the options here, and that's what we do. So yes, I have picked what I thought I would pick. And then let's see. So I play the Sage out here. Or I could play the C3PO, but I assume I play the Sage, because we want to get that Force token. So if he doesn't have removal, now the Rivals is a good resource there, because our Force throw is for the hand tape. This is Blue Green Villainy. They have limited hand card draw, so any way we can sort of restrict what they've got down in their hand, the better. All right, so okay, so our opponent resupplied, which is good for us because it's allowed us to attack and get the Force token. So I assume what I do here is drop an Owen Lars, and then I would play a C3PO. This deck, by the way, the list is in the description of the video. This deck is weighted to have more cards that cost 3 than any other. So when you're drawing blind like this, just call 3. So let's see what happens here. I assume I play, so I play C3PO. I called a 3, but it was a Fell the Dragon. Okay, so then I play Owen, and now I've got 3 cards out. So our opponent can't Power the Dark Side or anything like this. Now this is a tough resource because you really want to keep your Fells for the late game, but Force Throw is so good in terms of attacking the hand. So I assume I resource a Fell here. Let's see if I'm correct. No, I resourced a Luke. So I must have judged that, hey, I need the Fells more than I need the Luke in this matchup. We'll see if that's correct. Okay, see, he did a takedown on our C3PO. So we use the Yoda ability. I assume I would potentially put Fell the Dragon on the bottom, put the lightsaber on the Sage, attack. Let's see. Yep, put the Fell on the bottom and put the constructed lightsaber on the Sage because it can only go on a Force unit, and then we can hit the base for 4. It's a bit uncanny watching yourself play back like this because you make different decisions. So that's a great draw there. So we drew the Ki-Adi-Mundi, which means again we're going to build some. We're going to draw some cards here. Okay, so he dropped Iden out, so we can run into the Iden, take the shield off. Let's see what he does here. The constructed saber has given the Sage a shield, a Sentinel, because the Sage is a non-heroic card in that as well. All right, so our opponent, let's have a look at our opponent just passed. So nothing's left play here at the moment, so I can't really cycle with Yoda. What I could do is Force Throw or Ki-Adi-Mundi. There's no real point running Owen in because he's likely got a power. So I draw with Ki-Adi-Mundi. Okay. And then I probably just Force Throw to get rid of a resource, I would say. Yep, we'll make him discard. We'll see what he's kept in his hand. Has he kept something that's less than 4? Okay, so that was a good... We discarded an Avenger there. So, all right, so we get rid of the Sage. we want to play small units, but we've already got a large number of units out here. So we want to push the damage like we've been talking about. So here we got, okay. So he vigilanced the Owen Lars. He defeated and healed the base. I think that's incorrect. In this matchup, you should defeat and mill because he was at 100% life. So that doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, we're being able to draw. Even if he milled them, we would have, well, we might not have hit Ray here because it depends on the order. So we draw Ray here. We take it and then trigger it, and you have to put the damage on a unit, so it'll hit one of our units. But to be honest, we're fine with that because we just want to get damage on his base. All right, so he vigilanced. We drew from Owen Lars. Now we want to push some damage on his base. So he's claimed. We go here and we cycle. We put out a Night Sister, and what I'm just focused on here, again, when I say don't overcommit, that's what I mean. Don't overcommit to the board. Only have 2 to 3 units at once. Make him deal with it. We could have played Poe as well. That could have been an option there, but I must have felt like that it was better to get the card draw. So there we go. If we had to play Poe, everything just would have been removed. So here, what I think I would do was put Ray on top, draw with C-3PO, put another 2 on the base, 2 on C-3PO, and play the Poe out. Let's see if that's what happens. Okay, we put Ray on top. C-3PO gives us that card draw, so we just add a card to a hand, as well as doing the damage. Then we play Poe out. No, we don't play Poe. We play Chirrut. So I could have played Poe out. I'd probably get rid of the open fire here. Keep out our units. So maybe play Chirrut because I'm worried about often this deck will run things like either a Maul or a Callus and that as well. Maybe I was worried about the Maul. All right, Crushing Blow. That's fine. So again, we're just pushing damage along the way here. Power of the Dark Side. Well, do we take Chirrut or Yoda? We'll let him take the Chirrut. So we probably could have played that turn a little bit different. Like I think I attack with Yoda to get the damage in. And one option was to put Owen out, but he could have had another Super Laser Blast. So anyway, so we finally get the Poe out as well. I stick to 3 units on the board. A lot of his stuff is single target removal. So again, he comes out and runs with the Reinforcement Walker, which is quite good because it draws 2 cards and deals with our Poe Dameron there. So what's the plan here? We could potentially Luke the Reinforcement Walker, hit base with 4. That seems like a good plan. Sometimes when Yoda's out here, you don't get the cycle, so it's hard to trigger Ray. So I would probably have done the Luke here, or I could go the Ki-Adi-Mundi approach, and I could have traded with Yoda. Yep, I just hit in a base here, and I think I go the Luke. Yep, there we go. All right, so we're still pushing damage. We're up to 9 resources. We want to keep putting pressure. So there's our second Laser Blast. So again, it's getting them to waste their removal, their multi-removal. We only committed to 3 units, plus we drew a card. And here we go. We draw another card by playing the Night Sister Warrior out. We rip a Ray off the top. So we do 2 to our unit, 2 to base. And then I assume we'll play Yoda out here. Yeah. Okay, so no resource. We could have potentially done Your Only Hope there as a resource. All right, so he gets to draw a card with the No Glory, but we're able to just keep pushing. All right, so Anakin comes out here. So we put Ray on top. We can draw with Ki-Adi. So again, we take him now to 27. We can either fell here, or we could just play units out. I would say we fell here. No, we just trigger. We're going to push wide. Okay. All right, so you can see now our crate. So again, we'll try and push a few damage in and then potentially drop a crate here. Yeah, so we'll hit with Yaddle, I'd say, here. Because we're more likely to get Yaddle removed from a attack, but no, we decide the X-Wing. So that takes him to 30. If we drop a crate dragon here, he could be in trouble. Because we also have the force throw too, which would take care of the Anakin, and all he's going to have is that one reinforcement walker. Okay, so he healed. So there's no point. Like, normally you could claim, but it's blue. They could have felled the dragon. So we're taking him to 28 out of the 33. We'll force throw. That'll get rid of the Anakin. And then he has to deal with the crate. And we've also got 5 on board. All right, so we might as well cycle. Put the saber on the bottom. Again, we talked about earlier about not going high vertically. And now he's got to deal with the crate here. All right, so he plays a blast, and that's it. So that was his third blast. So that's a good example against Iden, how you continually chip away with damage and just put pressure on. Don't overcommit to the board. All right, so let's have a look at another match. So this match was against Akira ECL. So something a little bit different. You have to watch out for the Anakins and the Vaders coming off ECL. And Kira has that really good flip turn when you can... has a good flip turn where they can halve everything on the board and come out barrage. So we're going to keep this hand just because the Night Sister Warrior is so good. We don't actually have a turn 2 play. So my guess is that I'll play the Night Sister Warrior out, keep the Saber just in case, keep the Kiadi-Mundi, and then either keep the Poe or the Luke here. Probably the Luke, I would say. All right, so I got rid of the Saber. So I'm just banking on getting something the next turn. We're essentially drawing 3 cards because it's most likely the Night Sister Warrior will die. And that will draw us a card. So that takes us to 2 at the end of the turn. 1 from the Night Sister Warrior and 1 from the Yoda cycle. So we're essentially drawing 4 cards there. So we ripped a really good card there. So we probably get rid of the Poe because we cannot sacrifice one. We've only got 2 in the first game. And we need to keep it. All right, so Pershing is a priority target because one of our ways to overcome this matchup is to hand hate. So we can't sit there and have him just chip away and draw cards. All right, so Owen's good because it kind of like it draws more cards up. And sort of counters that power of the dark side. So that must be the reason I kept it there. And it replaces itself as well. Not as good as Thrawn, that I've come to play quite a bit recently. If you haven't seen my latest stream, it was one about the Thrawn PQ. Canberra, 57 players. I took it to the final and then went undefeated all day, and then conceded to a teammate who wasn't qualified. I'm already qualified because of the Yoda win. All right, so Terran Tech's a very good answer. We're able to trigger a draw here. So what we can do is put Ray on top and then draw with Kiadi-Mundi. So we must have hit a Ray direct off the top there. So we hit a Kiadi-Mundi. So it's he's able to heal with Kira, essentially. All right, we'll trigger. The Hammerhead's really good because we've drawn so many cards already, and it's currently doing, what, 6 damage? As well, so he is on ECL, so we can expect Vaders and that to come in as well. All right, so he just traded into our unit, which means we can essentially start with the Hammerhead. So Your Only Hope is probably the right resource, or Chirrut, but yeah, so we went Chirrut. You could have done Your Only Hope. There's no point cheating out against Blue Green Villainy, because you cheat out a Crate Dragon and then they just power the dark side. You've spent those cards to do it. So we go Owen. Hopefully he runs into it, because then we can cycle, put the Rebellious Hammerhead. So it looks like we're just going to draw, potentially just draw naked with the Hammerhead, unless he can do something to allow us to trigger a unit leaving play, and that will allow us to trigger Ray and kill that Terran Tech. So we go straight off the top. So this is an earlier build than the one I showed in the presentation. It runs Rebellious Hammerhead rather than the Anakin's. Both are good. Both are good. The Hammerheads are very good in the mirror matchup. So I think Your Only Hope is better to resource, just because there's no point ramping up. Like, when I say ramp up, is cheat out a big unit when they can just power the dark side. So it looks like we got rid of the Night Sister. In hindsight, I think the Your Only Hope. Maybe I'm thinking about trying to cheat out a Crate Dragon for that. All right, so we open fired. We're at the 6 resource mark. So incidentally, Kira was the one of my top 4 opponents in the PQ a couple of days ago, but I was on Thrawn. So yes, check that video out if you haven't seen it. All right, we can put Ray on top. Either Owen will die and it'll just draw, or we can Your Only Hope it out. Right, here comes Vader. All right, so let's draw one of them. That allows us to do 2 damage to a unit, 2 damage to a base. And look at all those cards we've got. Like, it'll be a Hammerhead onto the Vader next turn. So yes, this is one advantage of doing the live streams, is that we have starting to build a bank up of matches that I've played, and I can go back and review them, see if our opponent played decently, because sometimes that's not always the case. You can be too confident into a matchup, and because you blitz it online, but when you come to face a really good player on that deck, it's not the same result. So we're trying to evaluate what our opponent does in that as well. All right, so you could probably put the crate on top. Like, this is the Yoda flip turn, and if you play something big out, you could drop it out. So there we go. All right, so we're going to claim, because I didn't set up the Yoda flip correctly there. So we claim what we'll do is put Fell on top, and then we're able to set this turn up a little bit better. We are expecting a Vader at some point as well, because he hasn't used his ECL. All right, we put the Ray on top, so that'll kill 5 and under when we flip Yoda. So I played the unit out to protect against Power of the Dark Side. So when I talked about card advantage earlier, just have a look at the hand sizes here. Our opponent is on 2 cards, and we're on 7 cards in hand. But our opponent has a better board state, but the Yoda flip turn changes that around quite a bit. All right, so we trigger because we did put the Ray unit on top. We put some damage on Vader, and then we're just going to do what's a naked flip. So we've flipped the top card, and we're lucky to hit a 7. So what we do is remove probably the Dark Trooper, and then we can attack into the Vader with Yoda. It's a shame that the Pershing was just that 1 health extra, because I probably would have run into the Pershing. All right, so I finally get rid of the Your Mighty Hope. He's only got 3 cards, so if we can get something to stick, like a crate, it'll be a GG. All right, so you probably tap Pershing here and transfer it to the Inferno. So yes, these are very grindy matchups. Not as grindy as the mirror though, the blue-green mirrors. I went to time sort of both top 8 matches on the weekend. All right, so here comes the Vader. So ECL has been used. So we can drop a Yaddle out and then use Luke to kill Vader. You drop the Yaddle out here first because it will protect against Power of the Dark Side. All right, so we've got a bit of a restore package going. And we're trying to get him to... One of the things we talked about was burning removal. What we want him to do is... He's got 3 cards in hand. Let's burn some removal so that I can drop Crate Dragons out uncontested. Like, you spend 9 on Crate Dragon and they Power the Dark Side. It feels bad because it's such an imbalance in raw force. Raw resources. All right, Your Mighty Hope probably goes here. I would hit base with Luke. We want to put our opponent in under a bit of pressure here. And Luke hitting for 6 and then restoring for 3 is like a 9-point turnaround between the bases. If I knew Luke wasn't going to die, you could hit with Yaddle first and get that additional resource. One thing you can do, not in this match, but other ones, definitely I've done, is put the Saber on Luke. So if I'm playing something like Green Red that potentially doesn't have much removal in the deck, I'll do it like that. And that will... yes, that'll protect us there and that as well. So let's see what's happening here. Crate Dragon, we can drop out. He's only got 2 cards. So if we did play a crate, yeah, it looks like I'm going to go the X-Wing mode. I'm just trying to burn his removal so that we can drop it out uncontested. What we don't want to see is like a timely Vader come out here. All right, so he runs it in. All right, we'll damage. We'll hit the Inferno, hit the base. Again, we haven't hit the base too many times, but we have chipped away with a couple of Ray draws now. And you can see this game we didn't hit C-3PO, but if we did, it's a good way to repeat trigger. All right, so a few options here. I can drop another Luke just to kill the Trooper, but that would hit the unique rule, and we would have to pick which Luke survives. So I'm probably dropping out a Ray unit here. And in terms of what dies, it's either the Yaddle or the X-Wing. And I chose the X-Wing because it already had attacked. All right, so we can fell, and I assume we're going to play Yoda. And he can also shield that Trooper to make it a little bit harder to get through. All right, so we drop the Yoda out as well. All right, Force Throw is a good draw. Let's see if it's still around. It is the 15th here in Australia, and I think we're just hitting the 15th in America, and there is a planned meta update. So there's been a lot of speculation about what it is, but we'll know within 24 hours if there's any changes. If there was a Force Throw, probably it'll affect this deck a bit, but there's different ways you can build it. All right, so he come in, he's dropped the shield on Luke and dropped the shield on his Dark Trooper. So I'd probably Luke back out here. I would Force Throw, and then I would play Yaddle down. So you can see some numbers in the upper right hand corner. 7-1 is where I'm currently at for the stream. I record my results as we go. I'm just going to be able to put Ray on top. All right, so what is this? He Force Throw himself. We Force Throwed him. He dropped a big unit there, and we were able to clear out. So, like, look at all this card draw that we've had, and then look at our opponent's hand now. We have plenty of options. Probably could have lost one Ray there. But yeah, he's on 12. These little weenies, as I like to call them, they can be tough to deal with when you're playing Blue-Green Heroic. Doesn't have the sort of wide board effects as much as the red aspect. It's got more things like the Super Laser Blast and that. So, all right. Well, we want to probably hit that first before it gets too big. Oh, not too big, but too annoying. All right, so probably crate here, so it kind of bricks him from doing anything else as much this turn. So he elected to do the 2 damage to the Sentinel and get the shield. So we run Yaddle in. Yoda will come next. All right. So what are they saying in chat? Calling it the Gungan Underwater City will be a base in Homeworlds. Well, that is speculation. A long way to go to Homeworlds. Homeworlds is set 9. We're currently set 5. All right, here we go. We're talking about chip damage. So we want to chip. Okay, I'll flip back to the list to show the chat. And that's what we do in those live streams and that as well. So if you have any live stream suggestions in terms of what decks and that to play, as long as it matches my play style, I tend to give it a go. If you play a crate, you basically have to, he's out of cards. He has to claim and then pray that he draws an answer for crate. If he draws a fell, well, we just attack him with the Yaddle because the fell would do 4 damage to base. So, yeah. All right, so we got the restore with Yaddle. We have a ton of cards in our hand. We have the Rebellious Hammerhead. All right, yeah, okay. So there we go. We just kept pushing damage. Ray triggers, card advantage, and that. So let's just jump back to the slideshow, and I will go over just that iteration again. So card advantage. Lots of those small units drawing cards. Chip damage, C-3PO, Ray, more cards. Kiadi-Mundi, Yoda, Night Sister Warrior. Just be careful of traders or no glory in this matchup. And then the additional Crate Dragon to close things out. So there you have it. There's the list again. The list will be in the description of the video. And there is the sideboard. So thanks again for tuning in. Next time we'll have a look at what the meta update is. And if Yoda is still a relevant deck, I will continue to make these videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, consider giving it a subscribe or at least a like on the video itself. All right, thanks again, and I will see you next time.